Greetings, combatants. This is Shao Kahn Gaming. Welcoming you back to another video. And today we are going to be ranking final bosses. The final boss, a unique challenge throughout the games. Many games have a final boss. Many of them are really good. Some of them are garbage. Today we will be discussing which bosses stand the test of time, and which ones fall the shortest. Without further ado, let's get into that. So, starting off, we have Shang Tsung. Well, obviously, superb. Shang Tsung has an interesting history as the final boss, being the final boss in 1992's Mortal Kombat, sub-boss in the other games, final boss in Deadly Alliance, where he gets without a doubt his best costume throughout the games, which is not even an opinion at this point. Deadly Alliance is just his best costume, it's just factual at this point. Like it stands the test of time. He's an interesting boss career, and he is the second